Japan has just dropped a bombshell at their Champions League this weekend, revealing more from the upcoming sets Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia, who are headlined by Mega Lucario and Gardevoir EX respectively, which we have already got a sneak peek at, but today we're getting our first look at the return of a Kanto favorite with some serious competitive potential, plus a brand new draw supporter that's adding more fuel to the fire around those rumors that Professor's research might finally rotate. With the release of these sets, we'll also be officially moving out of the Scarlet and Violet era and into the world of Legends ZA. And if this is just the beginning, yeah, the future's looking pretty spicy. That's enough yapping though, let's dive into all these new reveals. You're not going to want to miss any of these. Alright, so we are getting the pack art, which we have seen before, but we're getting Lucario on one and Gardevoir on the other. So in Japan, they kind of split these into two sets. When it comes out in English, it'll be releasing in September, and these two should just be combined into one set for us, making it so you don't have to go picking, oh, do you want Lucario or do you want Gardevoir? Over in Japan, though, it does operate a little bit differently. These sets are also going to feature full art versions of item cards. Previously, we've just had gold ones, so you'll be able to get a full art rare candy and Night Scepter, which is pretty sick. Gold rare candy, though, does look pretty nice, so if we're starting to lean away from not doing gold cards, if you do have some gold rare candies, those might be going up in value in the future. Also, in these sets, the Kanto favorite I was mentioning, it's going to be the Bulbasaur line. So we're getting a Bulbasaur with 80 HP. Does mean that you can't search this out with Buddy Buddy Poffin, which not ideal, but it could help out, right? Makes it a little bit trickier for things like Dragapult to take this out off the bench. They're not going to be able to go Halucha, ping 10 on you, then put 6 damage counters and deal with it before it gets a chance to evolve up. You're going to make them have to work a little bit harder, so that's always useful. The attack on here, though, doing 10 damage for 1 grass energy, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. We've seen attacks like this be pretty effective in the format to buy yourself some times. Things like Maractus, right? It has corner, locks an opponent in the active, and it's just like you gust up something that can't evolve to remove the effect and to know that your opponent's running low counts of switch cards, and you're just kind of locking them there while you're setting up your board in the background. So it could be a really useful attack to have while you set up the evolution lines. It's going to evolve into an Ivysaur, has 110 HP, 2 grass energy to do 60 damage. It's kind of interesting. I feel like for this deck, it's mostly just there to evolve into a stage 1. You're not really going to be using this. For alternate formats like Gym Leader Challenge, though, could be a little bit helpful having something with a bit more health. I know they do like the Ivysaur with 90 HP, though, since you can search it out with Level Ball. So even for that format, I think it's probably going to get looked over. But for standard, just having something that you can go Evo TM into is definitely a great help, or great use case for it. We are going to see Mega Venusaur EX, though. So this came out in the X and Y games, and yeah, it should be returning in Legends ZA, and especially with it getting represented in the TCG here, I think that's just more confirmation for us that, yeah, the Kanto starters will be featured in that game as well. The ability on here is pretty interesting. As many times as you like during your turn, you can move a basic grass energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon. It's a good thing it says basic, right? So it's not like you can have Luminous energy or Prism energy in play and just like move those around to your guys being like, oh, it's a grass energy. Oh, but over here it's a dark energy for my Monkey Dory. Can't pull any of that shenanigans. But the fact that it is basic grass, that means you combine it with Ogerpon, right? It uses Steel Dance, gets an energy from your hand into play, draws you a card, and then Venusaur can just move it onto a different attacker. Maybe even pairing this with Mega EX, right? That I think when it moves from the bench to the active or the active to the bench. Correct me in the comments, whichever one it is, but searches your deck for, I think it's 3 grass energy and attaches it to yourself. So you could just be moving Mega, pulling energy from the deck, then using Venusaur to move it around to your attackers as you need. I feel like Ogerpon's probably the better attacker to pair this with, though, right? Because like you just have multiple Ogerpon, they're each getting 1 energy out, then you funnel all that onto 1. It scales damage based on the energy attached to it and on your opponent, so you can ramp up some pretty crazy damage and do some very silly things. Not to mention Ogerpon also enables Area 0 Underdepths, giving you some interesting potential to just expand your board state. The other nice thing on here, though, the attack's 4 grass energy, it does 240, and you get to heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. So you can be doing some pretty decent damage, right? You're one-shotting big basics like Raging Bolt EX. That's relevant. And since you have 380 HP, things are going to be struggling to one-shot you, right? Big hitters in the format, we've got Dragapult that's doing 200. They hit you for 200. You have 180 HP left. You hit them, you heal off 30. Now you have 210 HP left. They can't just hit you anymore to get that KO. They've got to use like some Monkey Dories or other shenanigans to help bridge that gap. So could be an interesting way to play it. And there is a new supporter card revealed in this set, which we'll get to in a moment, which I think is going to pair amazingly with the Venusaur and the Ogerpon, but I don't want to spoil anything just yet. We are seeing a new Vulpix in this set, 70 HP, so you can get it with Buddy Buddy Poppin', 10 damage for a colorless, or 20 for a fire and a colorless. It's fine. It's in here to evolve into Ninetales. Ninetales attack, Suspicious Shape-Shifting. Sorry, apparently a cat's got my tongue. But Suspicious Shape-Shifting. Discard the top card of your deck. It's a supporter card. You can use it as the effect of this attack. So maybe there's like a control deck to be built with this, potentially. It seems okay. Like you could be spamming like Eerie or Boss's Orders, stuff like that. Second attack, fire and a colorless to do 60. It's okay. I'm sure there's control players that'll try and make this work, but I feel like there's just better options. We are getting a new Sobble line included in this set. So 70 HP, you can get it with Buddy Poffin. Always love seeing that on a basic. 1 water energy, you do 30 damage, but you do have to flip a coin, and if it's tails, well, then it just fails. So you may be doing 0 damage instead. But you could be one-shotting a Buddy, which is kind of relevant. It's going to evolve up into Drizzile. Unfortunately, not seeing Shady Dealings coming back. Is what it is. But the attack on here, 1 water energy, you're going to flip 2 coins, 30 damage for each heads. So kind of just like a buffed up version of the Sobble's attack. It's okay. It's in there to evolve into. That's pretty much it. The Inteleon, though, has the attack Bring Down. This attack are the Pokemon in play that has the least HP remaining, except for this Pokemon, gets knocked out. So it's just guaranteeing a KO. Can be backfiring onto yourself, right? Like if you have guys that only have 100 HP and all of your opponent's guys have 200 plus, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But if you have ways to kind of just like manipulate damage on the board, make sure that your opponent always has the smallest amount of HP left, you're going to be in a good spot. So maybe pairing this with like Monkey Dory and Frostlass could work. Definitely an interesting concept. I feel like we have seen this attack before on a Greninja, which, hey, future triple, if you can edit that onto the screen, that'd be cool. If it exists, I feel like it does. I feel like it was like a dark type one. And then the second attack on here is 1 water energy, 110 damage. You discard an energy from this Pokemon. It seems fine. I feel like there's going to be some like cheeky rogue decks to come out of this. I don't know if they'll be competitively viable, but like bring it to a challenge, bring it to a cup for like a little bit of fun. Yeah, maybe it's worth a shot. We're getting a new Pachirisu, 70 HP, so you can be getting this with Buddy Buddy Poffin. Does 10 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, whenever your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to the defending Pokemon, you put 8 damage counters on that Pokemon. It does specify the defending Pokemon, right? So if you hit them and then they evolve up, that effect gets removed, or if they switch into something else, well, it's not going to do anything to the new active, or if they just attach energy to the bench, it's not doing anything. So it is very situational, but if you know that your opponent's just going to be funneling energy onto the active, yeah, could be interesting, especially if they have to like ramp out multiple things, right? If they're using Gardevoir and accelerating out 2 or 3 energy to their active, they're going to be putting 8 damage counters 2 or 3 times onto them, or like using Baxcalibur and putting a bunch of energy on a Chin Pao. It's like, well, you might knock yourself out. So yeah, interesting card. I don't know how viable it'll be, but definitely worth experimenting with. We are getting to see the Ralts line that will be evolving up into Mega Gardevoir. I don't believe we got to see these previously. We literally have just seen the Gardevoir and Lucario from this set so far. But the Ralts has a colorless energy to draw a card. Not a bad attack to have, just to buy a bit of time. And second attack is just flat 10 damage for a Psychic. Evolves into a Kirlia that can search your deck for 3 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand for 1 Psychic energy. Also not bad to make sure you're setting up into the correct pieces. Could be finding you your Gardevoirs, could be finding you your basic attackers to get onto the bench. Yeah, not bad. I feel like there is other attacks you'd be wanting to use just to buy some time, like attacking with Buddy or Maractus, but having this just as a way to make sure that you're finding your pieces to set up your board, it's definitely an alright spot to be in. The second attack doing 30 damage for 1 Psychic, so you can be one-shotting a Buddy on the other side of the board. Gardevoir EX though, or Mega Gardevoir EX I should say. We have got a peek at it before, but in case this is your first time seeing it, being a Mega Pokemon, has a bunch of HP, 360 to be exact, and the gimmick they're bringing back with Mega Pokemon is when they get knocked out, they're going to give up 3 prizes, so that extra HP does come at a bit of a cost. The attack on here though, 1 Psychic Energy for each of your bench Pokemon. Search your deck for a basic Psychic Energy and attach it to that Pokemon, so great way to just like accelerate energy onto your board. And also to thin your deck, right? You're pulling that energy out of your deck, then as you're drawing into cards, you're less likely to draw into energy and more into other things that you want to be finding, like your trainers, like your supporters, right? Your supporters, your other Pokemon. It's definitely good to thin. Thinning is winning. The second attack on here, though, Mega Symphonia, scales up by 50 damage for each Psychic Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So that first attack can be ramping out energy onto your board to be scaling damage for the second attack. Since it is a Gardevoir though, it evolves from Kirlia. The current Gardevoir EX also evolves from Kirlia, so you're going to be pairing this with Gardevoir EX for the Psychic Embrace ability, which can just rush Psychic Energy from your discard pile onto your board and just quickly ramp up Gardevoir or Mega Gardevoir's damage output. I feel like this is more so like a late game attacking option though, right? You're going to be still playing Gardevoir or Gardevoir EX with single prizers, making your opponent struggle to take prizes, and then in the late game, you bring this out, it starts hitting like a, I was going to say glass cannon, but it has a lot of HP. It's not even a glass cannon. But they've taken 5 prizes by taking out single prizers. Then they have to get through a 3-prize Pokemon, effectively making them play an 8-prize game. So, yeah. That's a little crazy. You could go in the early game attacking with this to just delete things too, but I don't know if that's necessary. I feel like if you're letting your opponent knock out a 3-prize Pokemon early in the game, you're going to have a bad time. Makuhitta is getting a new card in this set. 1 fighting energy to do 30 damage, so takes out a Budu, not bad. Does have 80 HP though, so you can't get it with Buddy Puff, and you're going to have to be using Artisan or Nest Ball to get this into play. Second attack on here, 2 fighting energy, also doing 30 damage. Is this an incorrect translation? Yeah, it's wrong. First attack does 10 damage. Not sure why it says 30 here. I'm reading this text. It's a little bit easier. Okay, 10 damage for 1 fighting energy. It's not dealing with Buddy was easy. It's going to evolve into Hariyama. The ability on here is Sumo Catcher. 1 string return when you play this card from your hand. I'd like to evolve up the... I already forgot his name. Makuhitta. You can tell I didn't play a lot of Gen 3. But when you evolve Makuhitta into Hariyama, it's effectively a boss's orders trigger, right? It's gusting up one of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active. We have recently got Hop's WallE. Had literally the same ability as this, so it's just giving us another way to do that. Seeing cards like this getting reprinted does kind of make me think that boss's orders might be on the way out soon, right? We haven't gotten any past the G block. So once that rotates, that's it, right? We haven't seen an I block boss's orders. They haven't been recently reprinted or recently reprinted with a new regulation marker. Same goes for Professor's Research. So we're seeing this, we're seeing WallE, we're seeing Counter Catcher, Prime Catchers in rotation. Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if boss is on the way out. It's the attack on here though, 3 fighting energy, 210 damage, also does 70 damage to itself. I don't know. Interesting card for the ability. For the attack though, I don't think you're really going to be running it for that. We're getting to see the Riolu has Accelerating Stab, doing 30 damage, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Accelerating Stab. And we're going to double check this to make sure I'm not getting thrown off. Yeah, it is 30 damage for 1 fighting energy. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, also shame on me, but it didn't happen, so we're okay. And yeah, kind of interesting. 80 HP on here though, so it's not able to be searched out with Buddy Poffin, which is a little bit unfortunate. We've got Nest Ball, we've got Brock's Scouting, we've got Artisan, so there's ways to still get it onto the board, but I feel like Buddy Poffin for this would be very helpful. It's going to be evolving into Mega Lucario EX, so also being a Mega Pokemon, it will give up 3 prizes when it's knocked out, but it's a Stage 1 Pokemon with 340 HP, so that's kind of nuts. Does do 130 damage for 1 fighting energy as the first attack, and you can attach up to 3 basic fighting energy cards from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon in any way that you'd like. So a little bit of chip damage and energy acceleration is never a bad thing, right? You could be taking out pre-evolution Pokemon from your opponent or softening up like an EX Pokemon. Second attack doing 270 damage for 2 fighting energy. Then during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Mega Brave. So you can obviously just switch to this to the bench, removing that effect and pivot it back into the active and be in a pretty fine spot. 270, pretty nice number. You're going to be taking out basic EXs. You're going to be taking out most stage 1 EXs, right? Like Goldengos. Going into the Mega Block though, these guys have 300 plus HP. We will need ways to kind of pump up those numbers. So something like Define Span to add another 30 onto there could be pretty good, or Maximum Belt, adding an extra 50. It does say extra 50 damage into EX Pokemon, which Mega Pokemon are still EX Pokemon, so it's going to help you out. And there's an item card for fighting Pokemon, which we'll see in just a moment, helping you boost up those numbers a little bit more. Mega Ladius EX also getting revealed, so a pretty interesting one here. 1 colorless energy to use Strafe, does 40 damage, then you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So could be pairing this with Walls. You could just do a bit of chip damage into your opponent, bounce it to something like a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon that doesn't take damage from any Pokemon with abilities. Just be like, hey, I hit you, you can't hit this, do you have a Gust card, or are you doing nothing this turn? So that's kind of fun. And then the second attack on here, requiring a Fire, Psychic, and Colorless to do 300 damage. You do have to discard all energy from this Pokemon. So it could be a little bit awkward to charge up, maybe using things like Crispin, right? Gets you the Fire, gets you the Psychic, attach one, manually attach one with Crispin, then figure out the Colorless. Maybe something like Counter Gain could be helpful. But we're also getting a Ladios to pair this with because these two always come together, right? Ladius and Ladios, and the Ladios has the ability Luster Assist. Once during your turn, when your Mega Ladius EX, that's this one, moves from the bench to the active spot, you may move any number of energy from your bench Pokemon to that active Pokemon. So all of a sudden, charging this up becomes a little bit easier, right? We're seeing Fire in the attack cost, we're seeing a Psychic in the attack cost, and a Colorless. So you could be pairing this with like Ethan's Ho-Oh EX that can attach 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your bench Ethan's Pokemon, so it puts it onto the Ho-Oh. Then you're just manually attaching a Psychic energy to Ladius. Then you're moving Ladius into the active. It's pulling fire energy off the Ho-Oh and all of a sudden doing 300 damage. Not too bad. You could also be pairing this with Gardevoir EX using Psychic Embrace, getting Psychic energy into play, then attaching a Luminous energy or Prism energy onto this Ladius, move it into the active, pull the Psychic energy onto it, do 300 damage. So yeah, there's definitely ways to make this work. It is a Mega Pokemon though, and only having 280 HP feels a little bit risky, right? You're giving up 3 prizes if this gets knocked out, but it's a pretty solid attacker that you can just throw down, right? It's a basic Pokemon, so you can come out of nowhere, just be like, bench this, bench the Ladios, move this to the active, grab the energy you need, do 300 damage. Your opponent may not see it coming. And pairing this with like something like Gardevoir, right? Who's likely running Monkey Dories and Luminous energies for them now, right? It's counting as the dark energy, and be counting as the fire energy for this. So you can go, hey, this Luminous energy is on the Monkey Dory, counts as dark energy, move 30 damage off something onto my opponent's active Dragapult, let's say, as just as an example, or Charizard. So now they've taken 30 damage. Ladius moves into the active, grabs that Luminous energy, grabs Psychic energy off your other Pokemon, and then does the other 300 damage you need to get a one-shot into your opponent's big active. And then they don't really have another backup attacker established. Yeah, it's a cheeky little surprise attack. I like it. The trainer cards we will be getting in this, though, Premium Power Pro, I believe this one was revealed earlier. This is what we were talking about to go with the Mega Lucario EX. During this turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So all of a sudden you're going from 270 to 300 with one of these to 330 with 2 of these. So like dealing with a Charizard, it's just like, hey, play 2 of these, shoot it, you're good. Dealing with Mega Pokemon, I think Lucario had what, 360? So you, in the mirror match, could be playing 3 of these to one-shot them, or 2 of these and a maximum belt. So yeah, definitely an interesting card, and I'm keen to see what people do cooking with this. We're also getting Mega Signal, which is a solid new search card. You get to search your deck for 1 Mega Evolution Pokemon EX, reveal it, put it into your hand. So it's effectively Cherish Ball if you played in the Sun and Moon era that got you any GX Pokemon. This is just getting you any Mega Pokemon. Or currently we have Terra Orb, which is literally search for a Terra Pokemon. This is looking for a Mega Pokemon. So it's just like, hey, use this. Terra Orb sees some pretty niche play. I feel like it'll be the same for this. You're still going to be using Ultra Ball mainly because it can target you anything. But then having like 1 copy of this so that it's like, hey, I can't really afford to discard anything. I'm just going to use this, grab the Mega Pokemon I need and get going. Good times will be had. Mega Pokemon being evolutions, though, you could just be using like Jock as well, which has seen some niche use for doing similar things. But yeah, I feel like having it on an item card is always very powerful and leads to some very interesting deck building. Seeing a new WallE supporter card. You get to heal all damage from one of your Mega Evolution Pokemon EX in play. If you do, you put all energy attached to that Pokemon back into your hand. So you can't be using this to heal your basic EX or basic Megas like the Ladius, but you could be using it with the Venusaur we talked about earlier. And pairing that with the Ogre Pawns, you're gonna have a pretty consistent way to just fully heal a stage 2 Pokemon that has 380 HP. You can tank some massive hits, then you go WallE, bounce all that grass energy back into my hand, Ogre Pawn, Ogre Pawn, Ogre Pawn, attach for turn, pull all that energy onto Venusaur, get swinging again, it's like nothing happened. And you're also drawing 3 cards off those Ogre Pawn. That seems fine. That's kind of why I'm like, I feel like Venusaur has some competitive potential. It's not doing massive numbers, but like the fact that it can half hit into anything And if anything doesn't one-shot back into it, which having 300 HP, unless they're a fire Pokemon, they're going to be struggling to do that. You're just going to be like, yeah, no, all that damage is gone. All that energy is back out. I'm going to finish knocking you out. You're starting from square one. Cool beans. So yeah, very keen to see what people cook up with this. And yeah, I feel like WallE and Venusaur is just going to be, that's going to be a solid combo. Could see this potentially being played with like Mega Gardevoir EX, but the downside that the energy goes back into your hand and you want that energy in the discard pile to be able to re-accelerate it out with Psychic Embrace makes it a little bit trickier. But the Gardevoir only needs 2 Psychic Energy to use the attack, so it's like only 2 are on there. The rest of the energy is on your board. Gardevoir eats a hit, you use WallE, you bounce 2 energy into your hand, then you just go Ultra Ball, sack those 2 energy, get something out of your deck, use Psychic Embrace, get it back into play, and then just Monkey Dory off the 40 damage you've just taken. So, yeah, WallE is going to be a very interesting card, and I feel like the fact that Mega Pokemon give out 3 prizes isn't going to be super relevant because you're not going to be one-shotting them very often. And even when you're going for 2 shots, you're not going to be 2-shotting them very often either. A new draw supporter, though, being Lily's Determination. Similar to how Boss's Orders I mentioned, we haven't seen one past the G block of cards, so once that rotates next April, that might be it, unless we do see one come out with an I or... What are we in now? J? These are I. Yeah. Come on, alphabet skills. So F went last year. G, H, I. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, we haven't seen an H block or an I block research or Boss's Orders. Yeah, basic the alphabet skills. Go. But this is coming out. It does have an I block for the regulation marker. You're going to shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. If you have 6 prize cards remaining, you draw 8 instead. So in the early game, very, very strong draw supporter. Unlike Professor's Research, though, might be a little weaker. Yes, you are getting 1 more card. It says 8 in the early game instead of 7, but you're shuffling those cards back into your deck. So it's great if you're holding things like energy that you want to conserve or like rare candies, but it's kind of bad because you might just draw back into those same cards. If you start with a 7-card hand and you're like, oh, this is a bit of a brick. Lily, get me a different 8 cards, shuffle it, draw back in to those same 7 cards and then just 1 extra. It's like, oh, well, that's less than ideal. But still, getting into 8 cards is really good, right? If you're burning down most of your hand and you're just holding 2 cards, shuffle them back into your deck, you're getting a lot more value out of that. So very keen to see how this shakes up the format. And yeah, I feel like it does kind of give a bit more justification for like, yeah, Professor's Research might finally be going. It did seem like Boss's Orders and Research were just going to keep getting refreshed. So it was like every year it would just be like, yeah, reprint these. These are just going to be staples in the Pokemon TCG forever. Might be seeing an end of that. Doesn't mean that they won't be coming back in a year or 2, right? They could very easily just print those cards again. And it's like, okay, bring it back. All of you guys that hung on to your 40 or 50 copies you've built up over the years, you can still use them. But for a little bit at least, it's looking like they may be on the way out. A stadium card, which, yeah, you've probably already taken a peek at this. It was on the screen. Mystery Garden. So if you didn't think Gardevoir wasn't already good enough, like since it's come out, that deck has been solid and has stayed top tier that entire time. It's going to keep doing that. They gave it a new stadium card just to keep making it better. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard an energy card from their hand, so Gardevoir can accelerate it back from the discard pile to their Pokemon. Great. If they do, they get to draw a card until they have as many cards in their hand as they have Psychic Pokemon in play. Yeah, this seems very much printed for a specific deck. There'll be lots of decks that'll be able to use it, right? It doesn't say you have to discard a Psychic Energy to use it, but you're drawing cards for your Psychic Pokemon in play. So if you're wanting to thin your hand a little bit, it's like, okay, I don't have Psychic Pokemon in play, but like I'm holding an energy. I have ways to recur it from the discard pile. Like maybe you're running N Zoroark and it's like, oh, I want Dark Energy in the bin to use N's power up to get it back onto my bench Pokemon. Sack a Dark Energy. Oh, I have no Psychic Pokemon in play. Or, oh, I have Monkey Dory in play, maybe. Maybe you're drawing 1 or 2 cards with it. But it's just like a discard outlet, which is kind of niche. But yeah, seems very heavily printed for Gardevoir EX. You only have Psychic Pokemon in play. You want energy in the discard pile. Here's a stadium. We're going to make sure that Gardevoir is the top tier deck for the next... How many months does it have left still? 10? Yeah, because they'll be rotating in April. that deck's scary. Like literally, it released and it was like, yeah, this is good. Accelerates energy. We had Refinement Curlia. We had Greninja. It had Solid Attackers and Zacian and the single prize Gardevoir. Then rotation hit, losing the Zacian and single prize Gardevoir, and people are like, oh, it's not going to be as good. It doesn't have attackers. And it's like, no, it's just going to run Drifloom and Screamtail instead. And it's like, yeah, it's fair. And then the next rotation hit, and it's like, oh, it's losing Refinement Curlia and Greninja. It doesn't have draw power. It's going to be bad. And it's like, it's still top tier. That deck is terrifying. I don't know. That's my little rant on it. Very cool deck. Very high skill deck as well. Like the players that do well with it are good players. Like it's one of those ones. I wouldn't say there's a barrier of entry to it, but it's definitely a deck that rewards higher skill than just like, hey, here's a deck play Gardevoir. It takes you a while to get your head around it. I'm rambling though. Hope you guys did enjoy the new card reveals from Mega Symphonia and Mega Brave, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the new set and what cards you're hoping get revealed for it. Because so far we've seen 3 Mega Pokemon, right? We've got Gardevoir, we've got Lucario, each of those being in one of their respective sets. Venusaur is going to be in one of the sets. So do you think we're going to see some other Megas showing up in here? Oh, and the Ladius was in here. Like, do you think we'll get to see Blastoise in one of these, or are they going to hold off for that? Because they have kind of teased there's going to be a Mega Charizard set. So I feel like that'll be like Mega Charizard X and Y. Maybe they hold off Blastoise for that, or maybe we'll get to see it revealed in the next week or so for Mega Brave or Mega Symphonia. If you enjoy the video, though, make sure to boot that subscribe button so that you know when more are coming out, and hitting that like button always helps as well. It feeds the algorithm monster and lets YouTube know, like, hey, this guy's making quality stuff. Yeah, let other people know about it too. Till next time, though, stay golden, you Goombas.